Good morning, dear community at Universitario Conversa. I'm very pleased to welcome to all of you to the 6th celebration of the Model of the United Nations. With this event, we reinforce the academic preparation that our students have in their classes, but also Moon is an opportunity to talk about some of the main problems that the entire world is suffering in these times. Participants, I'm sure it will make you grow up with your English skills, but also with the confidence to express your opinion about topics that concern to our current society. Congratulations to all the people who participated in the preparation of this assembly. Please be welcome and enjoy the event. Thank you for your attention.
New York City, it is such a beautiful September day today. Although Midtowners, heads up, traffic is going to be bad. Here's why.
That's right, a lot of world leaders in town. We've got President Obama, Putin, the Pope is going to be in town. So roads are going to be closed off on short notice. Make sure you have a couple different ways to get to work.
I'm excited to meet them.
This is a historic moment for humanity.
The challenge for the United Nations is that diplomacy moves slowly in a world where we're used to instant gratification.
Kids and women can have strength and they have the ability to do amazing things and stand up for what they believe in.
As a photographer, you want to be creative. What's going to happen? Is the world going to implode in the UN? You never do know. You have to constantly have both eyes open and then shoot through the back of your head as well.
I translate simultaneously from English and French into Spanish. Sometimes I do get people who tell me, oh, like Nicole Kidman in the movie. I'm like, yes, sort of.
I'm meeting with 150 heads of state. I'm urging them, please work together in solidarity. Thank you. So far, so good.
Very good. Very good.
Thank you so fast.
We haven't started yet.
Too early. Don't say anything.
Because of security, it takes an extra hour or even more. So the commute is double or triple in time, because you can be the best interpreter ever, but if you're not in the booth when you're supposed to, it's of very little use.
Show me here? Yeah, they're with me. I think the best part is watching history happen. Being on the sidelines, just watching it go by.
No camera.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we are living in an era of peril. We have so many fires burning. Syria, the South Sudan, Central African Republic, Libya. There is nothing we cannot overcome. It's not a crisis of political issues. It's a crisis of global solidarity.
This week is critical. It's the one week of the year where all 193 world leaders or their representatives gather in one city, often here in one room, especially on the opening day of the General Assembly. have more than 1,500 bilateral meetings between different heads of states and heads of government. It's a good time for leaders to speak face to face, to try to deal with tensions that may arise and establish relations and recommit themselves to the ideals that are found in the UN Charter.
There is a bit of performance when you're interpreting. You need to be in good physical shape and then trying to tune out anything else that's happening in the booth, outside the booth, in my life, and just concentrate on whatever I'm doing. The general debate is always very high level. Heads of state and government, but also singers and TV personalities. We had Angelique Kidjo, Shakira saying,
"Now is the time to not just imagine, but do."
Malala also spoke. Pope Francis was a moment I will not forget.
Excited to be here because Ban Ki-moon's going to be here, David Beckham, and so many other people that I admire. It's like my dream to work here, so just coming here is amazing for me. And I'm giving a speech at the David Beckham event. We are kids demanding our rights. We are just kids, but we demand to be heard.
It's very interesting just watching their interactions, because they're very serious in front of the cameras. Right? Everything's we are here to do a job. And then backstage, they're normal people. They laugh.
It's a marathon and a sprint and speed dating.
Speed dating, diplomatic speed dating.
It's now going to be Qatar.
Okay, so not Nigeria.
Qatar next one.
Get the flag ready.
Bolivia.
You have to know how and when to grab the moment. If you're grabbing a moment of history, you're documenting history.
We don't get to approve a development agenda every year. Once you're in the moment, it's hard to take a step back and see this as history. Maybe someday we'll be reading this in a history book.
I now give the floor to the Secretary General of the United Nations, His Excellency Ban Ki-moon.
The 70th session of the General Assembly has opened with a towering achievement. The adoption of the 2030 Agenda, including 17 inspiring Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs. Our aim is clear, our mission is possible, and our destination is in our sight. When we stand together, there is no limit to what we can achieve. 3 days ago, young people from many nations stood together in balcony of this hall. They asked for one thing above all: change. Change. We must do everything we can to close the gap between the world as it is and the world as it should be. That is the mission of the United Nations.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 6th International Meeting of Delegates from different countries around the world in the General Assembly of the United Nations. In today's assembly, the delegates will discuss topics about protection of endangered animals, violence against women and children, clear water and environmental problems, armed conflicts and disarmament. Let's welcome and clap the delegations of Canada, Cuba, Brazil, Kenya, Angola, Egypt, Russia, Great Britain, Germany, China, India, South Korea. We invite all the delegates to be ready for their participation. Every child has the right to grow up in a safe and inclusive environment. The United Nations International Children's Emergency Fund, UNICEF, helps to promote this right.
أنا اسمي منال، عمري 6 سنين. أنا لوحة تنحيتي في مخيم سعدري. أنا بدي أتعلم، أحب ألعب مع البنات، نرقص مع بعض. أنا جاية يصير صف أول.
Nawai yangu nimejoji mbewe. Dream grade 5 pona akauma. Kajabu ni atariga. Dari mu grade 3 daji babu bara. Aino gizumana na moya umbe. Kajabu yandi bahiri ya bara. Abule mbana. मेरो नाम ममिता फरी हो, म 12 वर्ष भए। मेरो बुवा आमा इन्डियामा कामको लागि बस्नुहुन्छ। मलाई किनभने पढ्न मन छ, त्यही भएर बुवा मम्मीसँग नगए। मलाई पढ्न किनभने भविष्यमा केही गरेर त खान सक्छु भनेर पढ्न मन लाग्छ। मलाई ठुलो भएपछि नाच्छ भन्न मन छ, नाच्छ भनेर।
Me llamo Isaías, tengo 13 años y vivo en un barrio donde corre la pobreza y la inseguridad. Llegar a la escuela es una gran oportunidad para aprender y para el futuro.
En la escuela nos dieron computadoras y ahora tenemos un nuevo profesor que nos está enseñando a programar.
Lograré ser lo que siempre quise, trabajar con la informática.
لا أصير صف أول. هلا راح أحقق أحلامي.
Children playing and laughing forever. We are the world.
There comes a time when we heed a certain call, when the world must come together as one. There are people dying, oh, and it's time to lend a hand to life, the greatest gift of all.
We can't go on pretending day by day
that someone somewhere will soon make a change. We're all a part of God's great big family.
And the truth, you know, love is all we need.
We are the world,
come when we stand together as one.
Good morning, distinguished delegates, ambassadors, and representatives of the different countries around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 6th General Assembly in the United Nations facilities. Today, delegates from the 4 continents will discuss 4 of the most important problems that our current society is suffering: protection of endangered animals, violence against women and children, clean water and environmental problems, armed conflicts, and disarmament. Delegates, you will be responsible of making decisions to find altogether solutions to this problem. As Secretary General, I just want you to keep order in all assembly at all moments. We will begin by taking attendance to the delegates. Please, when you listen to your name, stand up. The first continent is Africa. From Kenya, Ángel Gutiérrez García. From Angola, Joana Yvette Rodríguez Núñez. From Egypt, Paola Ixchel León Cerón. The second continent is America. From Canada, Juan Antonio de Luna Cortés. From Cuba, Araceli Cruz Canovas. From Brazil, Elizabeth Pacheco Lara. The third continent is Asia. From China, Leonardo Pedro Díaz. From India, María Isabel Ocañas López. From South Korea, Valeria Rodríguez Navarro. The fourth continent is Europe. From Russia, Carlos García Martínez. From Great Britain, Jocelyn Alcaraz Trejo. And from Germany, Omar Emanuel Rodríguez González. We invite the delegates from Africa to be ready with their speeches. We will begin with the topic of discussion: violence against women and children. Let's receive Kenya delegate to give the topic's presentation.
Hello. Naigua Ángel Gutiérrez García. Na itakupa hawari kahusu, unyanyasiki wanawanake, na atoto nininchi, sinjini warani Africa. Hazwa, Kenya. Hello, my name is Senor Gutiérrez García, and I am a delegate, and I will present you the information about violence against women and children in some countries in Africa, especially Kenya. It has always been a point of discussion. However, the number of cases of sexual violence and pharmacy in Africa are rising during the COVID-19 pandemic. Will those in power finally grow the extent of the problem? The United Nations hosts called it the shadow pandemic. Violence, sexual assault, and pharmacy have increased in the past months across Africa and the globe. For example, Liberia recorded a 50% increase in the gender-based violence in the first half of this year. Between January and June, there were more 600 reported cases. The number for the whole of 2018 was 803 in the West Africa country. Nigeria also saw an increase of sexual violence during the curfews. 2 cases in June in which young women were reported killed shocked the country. In Kenya, local media report almost 4,000 schoolgirls become pregnant when schools were closing during the lockdown. In most cases, they had illegally been reported relapse or police officers. The situation was already bad for women before the pandemic. The pandemic mirrored the pain for what's not being seen. It doesn't mean the problem wasn't there. It was there, and this helps open the government's eyes to the real situation. Historically, a lot of African countries are patriarchal in nature for a long time. Women and girls have been seen as unequal to the male gender, so use safety. Women and girls take a long time to get on the table, therefore use safety. Women and girls don't get priority. Often, the focus is on talking like infrastructure, roads and military, but not on voting for healthy and family planning. As long as governments consist only of men, gender-based violence will remain shadow pandemic. Hiyote ni kutoka kawa upage wangu. Asante kawa mawakini na kaheri. That's all for my part. Thank you for the attention and goodbye.
Now, let's pay attention to the delegate from Angola, who will express an opinion about this issue.
Good morning, dear delegate. My name is Iber Rodriguez and I'm from Angola. I will share my opinion about the violence against women and children. I'd like to point out gender violence has always been present for many years, and it's necessary to express that in this pandemic, many women and many children have suffered this abuse by an aggressor at home. That's very difficult for me to accept, and it's unheard that we continue in this situation. We know the pandemic has been so difficult for everyone, and in Africa, it has brought terrible consequences. The number of cases increased dramatically as 90% of emergency calls. Those were registered related of violence by the couple, even when they support the men with household expenses. From the perspective of Angola, a country that has been at war for 40 years, we seek to provide support to our women, fighting against machismo and give them the place they deserve, to support their personal life, the work, and award them the empowerment they need. The work of having to bring food at home without needing the family is something that should always be recognized. Finally, as far as I am concerned, the most important thing we need to do is to eliminate the absurd prejudices against them, minimizing the work they might have to do. It is known that gender equality has always been so that women can do the same as men, but it is not a question of anything. The work and the women are better than men. No, it's not like that. A just society is so that both are so capable to carry out any project they wish, as well as to contribute to society to progress in all the areas, to seek those benefits so we can make a better Africa in working together and all these growth that we can achieve. Violence is a social phenomenon that can be found in all areas of human life. Domestic and gender-based violence continue to be a serious public health issue in African context. But also worldwide, this problem continues to be a matter of interest during the health crisis experienced due to the COVID-19 pandemic. That's why I would like to call you as a society to fight against this, because if we want a country in peace and freedom violence, let's begin to create in each of homes, in each block, in each neighborhood, in each community. Let us seek the path of dialogue of violence, and we will have a better world every day. Thank you.
Finally, the delegation of Egypt will give some proposals to improve violence against women and children.
Hello, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Sabah al-Ahir Sairati wal-Sada. My name is Paula Leon, the delegate from Egypt. I would like to provide you with information about a study by UN Women and the Egyptian Ministry of Health. 99% of the women surveyed say they had suffered sexual harassment and 47% some form of violence in the family environment. Sexual assaults in public spaces have multiplied in recent years, especially during the demonstration held in Tahrir Square in Cairo. Only a very small number of men have been jailed for these attacks. Violence against children includes all forms of violence against those under the age of 18, inflicted by their parents or other caregivers. It's estimated that up to 1 billion children between the age of 2 and 17 worldwide were victims of physical, sexual, emotional abuse or neglect in the last year. Violence suffered in childhood affects health and well-being throughout life. Below, I will mention some of the proposals we are considering to eradicate and reduce violence and impunity for sexual violence in conflicts, caring for offenders in post-conflict situations, and respecting the right to life in accordance with international compensation programs that prevent these incidents and have a transformative impact on the lives of women and girls. Egypt fights a legacy of violence against women and children. Adequate allocation of public funds, the implementation of existing laws and policies while recognizing the negative impact and scope of violence against women directly affects not only life, but also society, the economy, and the world's public budget as a whole. Ensure that the Department of Homeland Security oversees violence against women and works with the Ministry of Justice, the Ministry of Health, and the Ministry of Education to implement the national strategy to combat violence against women. It publishes the national government's strategy to combat violence against children and eliminates all forms of discrimination against children, and ensure effective consultation and participation of children's rights groups and other civil society groups. The government of Egypt thanks your attention to my message, and I hope you take it into consideration. Saya kunkul mahamini.
African rhythms are usually simple on their own, but when combined together, they produce a complex polyrhythmic texture. The rhythms may be similar or may highlight different strong beats in a bar, adding to the rhythmic complexity. Now, please, let's give it up for the group. They will show a typical dance in African rhythms.
by countries from America continent. They will begin with the topic of discussion, protection of endangered animals. Let's receive Canada's delegate to give the topic's preparation.
Endangered animals and why we must do something about it now. Hello, good morning or good afternoon delegates, ambassadors and secretary. My name is Juan Antonio de Luna and I am here to talk about endangered species and how they might be at risk due to factors such as habitat loss, illegal hunting and invasive species. But did you know that the conservation of endangered species helps to restore the balance in ecosystem and it is important for humans too? Well, let's find out how. Plants and animals maintain the health of an ecosystem, and when species become endangered, it's a sign that an ecosystem is out of balance. A well-balanced ecosystem maintains the health of the environment. This ensures that human beings have access to clean air and water and fertile land for agriculture. Clean air and water improves our quality of life, and fertile land for agriculture ensures that we can produce enough food for consumption. A balanced ecosystem also provides us with plants that have medicinal properties. So, when ecosystems aren't maintained, our health can be affected too. Currently, 1,556 known species in the world have been identified as near extinction or endangered and are under protection by government law. And we need to save as many as we can by creating new laws and most importantly, respecting them. Well, I really appreciate your attention and I hope you take it into consideration so that we can start saving species as soon as possible. Thank you.
Let's pay attention to the delegate from Cuba, who will express an opinion about this issue.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Please be welcome. My name is Araceli Cruz Canovas, and today I'll give my opinion about the protection of endangered animals in Cuba. Due to several factors that cause it, such as habitats burning, trees falling, illegal hunting, among others. This leads to the extinction of the following species: Aniki, Cuban crocodile, iguana, Hutia conga, manatee, pink flamingo, Trogonto cororo, this is the national endemic bird, Sunsun, the smallest bird in the world, and a whalefish called fartet. As you all know, it is essential to conserve these species for upcoming generations, not only to get to know them, but also to admire their beauty, because each of those plays an important role in our ecosystem, either as a biological control of insects, as a seed spreader, or as a pollinator. These functions make possible the maintenance of our natural resources. The extinction of species is the final result of the natural process called evolution, in which mechanisms such as natural selection and the survival of the fittest participate. The extinction process demands from thousands to million years, and the human being is not able to witness the birth, life, and death of the same species, but we're witnesses and even responsible for extinction outside evolution. In this sense, we must create a culture of caring nature. It is not enough to be more than aware of the importance of nature, but to create a sense of belonging to it. Therefore, each species conservation is vital to preserve life. That's why we have come up with some solutions in order to rescue them despite some animals. The first step is to protect the habitat and to declare the areas as strongholds in reserve. In the case of a typical Cuban fish, the smaller streams inhabited by the species places of community interest have been declared within the Natura 2000 network. As a second step, a habitat improvement program must also be carried out. In this sense, they're working on the riverbanks recovery and their characteristic vegetation avoiding the use of pesticides in adjoining lands, as well as putting aside various laws. It's our responsibility to protect domestic and wild animals. Also, we have to follow all the indications in the areas so that we'll avoid forest fires or any damage to the habitat of our animals. We have to be aware that the life of an animal is as valuable as ours, and we must respect it. Thank you for your attention and have a wonderful day.
The delegation of Brazil will give some proposals to improve protection of endangered animals.
Hello, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Elizabeth. I am the delegate of Brazil. Nowadays, our beautiful planet is developing as never did before in knowledge, technology, and society. But what happened with those things which we never pay attention to? I mean, our huge environment is fortunate to have all kinds of plants and animals in our world. However, sometimes we are not aware of that, as it happened in my country. The wildlife of Brazil home to 60% of the Amazon rainforest, accounts for approximately 1/10 of all the species in the world. Brazil has the greatest biodiversity of any other country on the planet. Approximately 2/3 of all species worldwide are found in tropical areas. Yet, with all of this, we don't understand the importance of that. There are three main reasons for extinction of Brazil wildlife. Hunting is responsible for about 25% of the extinction. The destruction of habitats accounts for around 36% of the loss. The last known yet most lethal cause of extinction in the destruction of competing species, which is responsible for some 39% of the destruction. Proposals. As said before, around 40% of the number of species are suffering the risk of beginning extinction, mainly due to human action. However, here you are some proposals we think may reduce to the terrible percent of the endangered animals. Number 1, avoid deforestation, as large areas of the trees have been cutting down. Many species have to migrate on to other unnatural places so they can survive. Others just die, such as polar bears that must look for food in conditions or places so different from theirs. Number 2, no more natural resources contamination. Habitats are more suitable and possibly habitable if people take care of them consciously. Number 3, reproduction in captivity. Control the reproduction of sentient animals in danger may ensure the increasement of the threatened species, so when a reasonable growth is reached, they can be placed back where they used to live before. Number 4, a very easy contribution we all can do when you visit the zoo, for instance. You pay the recommended fee and donate little extra money. This contribution will possibly conserve the vital areas. In conclusion, species are part of our biodiversity and society. Apart from that, they take a main part in our ecosystem, so in terms of thinking about how beautiful our home look like. We all should think about how to keep it beautiful with no causing damage to nature. How do you understand this important message of take Russell's proposals into consideration so that we could maintain our green habitats as marvelous as they are now? Thank you so much for listening.
Samba is a fun, upbeat, lively dance that processes counterclockwise around the floor. It is characterized by its syncopated timing, bounce, rolling hip action, and pelvic tilt, and a great deal of rhythm is expressed throughout the torso. Now please, let's give it up for the group, the White Brazilian Team. They will show a typical dance in America. Samba!
Vem Magalenha Rojão, traz a lenha pro fogão, vem fazer armação. Hoje é um dia de sol, alegria de coió, é curtir o verão.
Vem Magalenha Rojão, traz a lenha pro fogão, vem fazer armação. Hoje é um dia de sol, alegria de coió, é curtir o verão.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Vem Magalenha Rojão, traz a senha pro fogão, TTT coração. Hoje é um dia de sol, alegria de xodó, meu dever de verão.
Vem Magalenha Rojão, traz a senha pro fogão, TTT coração. Hoje é um dia de sol, alegria de xodó, meu dever de verão.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Calango da pretinha, tô cantando essa mudinha pra senhora se lembrar. Naquele tempo que vivia lá na roça com uma filha na barriga e outra filha pra criar.
Calango da pretinha, tô cantando essa mudinha pra senhora se lembrar. Naquele tempo que vivia lá na roça com uma filha na barriga e outra filha pra criar. Calango da pretinha, tô cantando essa mudinha pra senhora se lembrar. Naquele tempo que vivia lá na roça com uma filha na barriga e outra filha pra criar.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Vem Magalenha Rojão, traz a senha pro fogão, TTT coração. Hoje é um dia de sol, alegria de xodó, meu dever de verão.
Vem Magalenha Rojão, traz a senha pro fogão, TTT coração. Hoje é um dia de sol, alegria de xodó, meu dever de verão.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
The continent of Asia will be the third group, and the delegates from their countries will begin with the topic of discussion, armed conflicts and disarmament. Let's receive China's delegate to give the topic's presentation.
Thank you, Mr. for giving me the floor. Ni hao Gudamisishi, Leonardo Pedrosa. Good afternoon, Honorable Chairperson and distinguished delegates. My name is Leonardo Pedrosa and I'm representing of the People's Republic of China. As the world's largest country, Asia is characterized by an array of governance practices, economic performance, cultural traditions, ethnic groups, religions, and languages. Armed conflict produces numerous direct deaths. to those engaged in our cause in the middle of the war, as well as what is widely believed to be a much larger number of indirect deaths resulting from malnutrition, disease, lack of shelter, lack of healthcare and other services, a lack of clean water due to the ongoing war. Asia continues to face numerous internal and international security challenges that have or could result in the use of military force. The acquisition of nuclear weapons and ballistic missile capabilities has been transformation in the role of military force in Asian international politics. It has become much less an offensive tool or relevant in the resolution of political and economic disputes. Instead, defending one existing territory or deterring external threats has become the primary role of armed force. I am here today to raise my voice for those who have been silenced by armed conflicts, for the innocents who are not here today. As the nature characterized by an armed conflict involved, civilians in some countries and religions continue to suffer from the impact of armed conflict. The protection of civilians remains an arduous task for the international community. Civilians increasingly become the targets of deliberate attacks, gender and sexual-based violence and crimes against humanity. Attacks on educational institutes and their military use results in death, destruction, and loss of education, creating long-term negative consequences for whole communities. Moreover, the absence of genuine political will to realize accountability for war crimes and other serious violations has deepened into a culture of impunity. As a result, parties to conflict continues to directly violate international humanitarian law or enable violations by others and fail to take meaningful practical steps to minimize and respond to civilian harm in conflict. China attaches great importance to respect for the international humanitarian law, which is essential to ensure access to population in distress. Humanitarian aid must be able to be delivered safely and without deterrence. In that spirit, China is actively involved in the negotiation of resolution at the United Nations, aiming to ensure safe and unimpeded humanitarian access and to protect humanitarian and medical personnel. War is no longer a rational instrument of state policy for resolving political disputes, enhancing welfare, or growing the economic strength of countries. The government of China thanks your attention to this important message. I hope you, honorable delegates, take it into consideration. Thank you. 谢谢.
Now, let's pay attention to the delegate from India, who will express an opinion about this issue.
Good morning, attendees, fellow delegates, Secretary General, members of the audience. My name is Isabel Ocañas and I come on behalf of the Indian nation in order to illustrate a problem that affects and afflicts our continent gravely. The consequences of this issue can easily cloud the future of the Asian nations and constitute an obstacle for the optimal development of the area and secure the place of most of our nations into a perpetual instability. International violence datasets are unreliable and often massively under-report levels of violence. Solid data on local forms of violence is often non-existent. Many reports here and there provide data and comparative analysis of violence in Asia and beyond, but these reports, mostly biased, tend to focus on just one type of violence, such as civil war violence, political violence, or terrorism. Looking in isolation at civil war violence, or at electoral violence, urban crime, femicides, drug trafficking, or domestic violence, means that the links to other forms cannot be untangled, and little is understood or sometimes even known about how they relate. i.e., whether countries that experience one type of violence, allow us to say, transnational terrorism, are also prone to other types of violence, such as national political contestation. Localized violence is present everywhere, often with dramatic cumulative impacts. India, our beautiful nation, is affected by numerous conflicts and the constant and luminous shadow of the international organized crime that has been established in the most populous area of Delhi, Assam, Tripura, West Bengal, and Arunachal Pradesh, where drug trafficking, assassinations, sex trafficking, and other criminal activities are endorsed by some of the members of the community as a normal situation. Peace-building work, facilitating and supporting peace processes, building local conflict resolution mechanisms, promoting intercommunal tolerance and the education of the youth in scientific, strong, and peace-consistent values, is vital in many areas of Asia and in India specifically. Progress can only be achieved through education. There is no other way. In our hands lies the future of the region if we want to be active in the resolution of the conflict. We wish to thank the Assembly for their support on the organization and the development of this important event that guarantees that the topics being stated are going to transcend the boundaries of our regions and will be considered and assessed by all the other nations, allowing them to understand in a deeper way our culture and join forces for the strengthening of the international cooperation. Again, my name is Isabel Ocañas. Thank you very much to all of you.
The delegation of South Korea will give some proposals to improve armed conflicts.
Yuanun Achiming Da. Good morning, Secretary of the United Nations and Ministers. My name is Valeria and I will give you some proposals on armed conflicts and disarmament in South Korea. Conflict prevention is today an essential element, absolutely necessary, so that the purpose of the United Nations to maintain international peace and security can be fulfilled and be effective. A weapon necessarily implies violence that can become irreversible. For this reason, its mere presence in any kind of environment, regardless of the existence of any real intention to use it, is already a cause for immense concern. Taking the precaution in handling of the stockpiles, in the delivery of weapons and in promoting their traceability can be decisive for the maintenance of post-conflict security. Therefore, it is suggested that any destruction process. The sequence established in the United Nations Guide for Planning the Destruction of Weapons is as follows. Number 1. Establish the type and quantity of weapons to be destroyed. Number 2. Examine and select the most appropriate method of destruction. Number 3. Establish an adequate and effective accounting system at the destruction site. Number 4. Physical destruction of weapons. Number 5. Monitoring and verification of the destruction process. Number 6. Maintain records of destroyed weapons. Number 7. Political leaders collaborate with governments and other actors to mitigate and prevent conflict. Number 8. Military and police personnel bring their unique skills to ensure security and stability. And number 9. Law enforcement and human rights experts also ensure the formation of a protective environment. For peacekeeping missions, meeting these challenges requires thoughtful planning and a strategy to protect the greatest number of people in the most effective way possible. As warfare is a constantly changing phenomenon, adjusted to fill the gaps in the protection they offer in terms. The government in South Korea thanks your attention to my message and I hope you take it into consideration. 감사해요. Thank you.
The Japanese tea ceremony contains 4 steps, and each one has a meaning: harmony, respect, purity, and tranquility. Those actions are symbolic and they pass from generation to generation. Now please, let's give it up for the group Trackers of Wisdom. They will show a typical tea ceremony from Japan.
The preparations are to show the highest respect to the guest and remember the transitions of life. The traditional Japanese tea ceremony has 4 main principles. Number 1. Harmony with nature, people, things in social life. Number 2. Respect to the guest, tools, ancestors, and the tradition. And number 3. Purity, tools, tear room, or minds, or hearts. When cleaning the tools, you also spiritually clean yourself. Holly used the tea ceremony to establish political alliances. The cleaning was also to show the guests that there was no poison in the bowls. Tranquility, spiritually increments and peace of mind. During the preparation stage, the host and the guest keep silent. So that even the tiny sounds, like water drops, could be weird, most actions are symbolic and passing from generation to generation. For example, dip the whisk in the water to check if there are dirty big chunks. One can experience awakening subtly by doing these routine steps because you are fully present at the moment and not thinking, what is the next?
To close these topics of discussion, the 4th group, formed by countries from Europe, will begin with the topic of discussion: clear water and environmental problems. Let's receive Russia's delegate to give the topic's presentation.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Carlos Garcia, and I represent the government of Russia. The urban centers of 64 Russian cities, with 40 million inhabitants, exceed the permissible limits of air pollution by as much as 10 times. 75% of the western Russian territory is toxic. 50% of the water consumed by the population does not meet the minimum sanitation requirements. 15% Russia's territory is in a situation of ecological alert. Will the European Union and the next century be cleaner, healthier, more beautiful and more prosperous? Or will we continue to suffer from increased pollution of air, water and soil? From the constant loss of forests and meadows? The increasing number of diseases that might result from increasingly urban and industrialized way of life? From a certain point of view, the current outlook for Europe is optimistic. Industrial emission of toxic substances such as lead, cadmium and mercury have been substantially reduced. Many highly hazardous pesticides and chemicals have been banned or severely restricted. Emission of sulfur dioxide, which cause great damage to forests and lakes, have been drastically reduced. Chemicals that degrade the protected stratospheric ozone layer around the Earth have been banned or are being phased out. Recycling rates are increasing. Wastewater treatment has improved to such an extent in new rivers and lakes that even salmon have dared to return to their former nesting grounds. The environment in the European Union enjoys an unparalleled level of legal protection. But, from another point of view, we have solved only on the simplest environmental problems. The problems of the future are less easily understood and more difficult to control. These problems are the natural consequence of a society in which individuals and groups don't consider the impact of their action on others or on the environment. In short, of a society that continues to behave as if the Earth's resources could be renewed indefinitely. Russian territories most affected. Bryansk, the area most affected by the Chernobyl accident. Moscow, high degree of environmental pollution due to the concentration of industries, population, vehicles and urbanization. Kola, serious ecological situation for sensitive ecosystem, acid pollution of industry metallurgical. Novaya Zemlya, nuclear tests cite a high level radioactive contamination on the surface. Ural region, high water and air pollution, radioactive contamination from the Mayak industrial complex. Western Siberia, in the Obi and Irty River Basin, oil and gas exploitation affect the forest industry and the habitat of many species. Norilsk, high sulfur dioxide emission from mining and metallurgical complexes that pollute forests and water sources. Lake Baikal, air and water pollution from industry located in its surroundings. North Caspian area, increasing in farm mortality regions and the decline in fishery resources. Recreational areas in the Black Sea and Azov, water and air pollution, as well as depletion water resources, scenery severely altered. Thank you for your attention.
Now, let's pay attention to the delegate from Great Britain, who will express an opinion about this issue.
Good morning to all the delegates. My name is Jocelyn Alcaraz-Trejo from Great Britain, and I'm going to speak about clear water and environmental problems, whose solutions must be urgently discussed. As a representative of my country, I think we are seeing more and more environmental concerns cropping up. With that comes more causes to identify and more potential solutions. Water pollution is an increasingly dangerous problem and is an undeniable result of human activity. Besides water pollution, there are more issues in Great Britain that must be faced as plastic pollution, water shortage, biodiversity, climate change, and air contamination. As far as I'm concerned, before we can start to make changes, we need to understand what causes the problem in the first place. From Great Britain's perspective, industrial waste, oil leakage, and plastic waste are the main reasons that have been provoking illnesses in humans. The destruction of certain ecosystems and negative effects on our biodiversity. Our conclusion is that water can be polluted from a range of different sources and activities, and, as you may know, there's no quick fix for the ecosystem pollution. It's taken years for the nature to become heavily polluted and will take years to undo it. However, my colleagues from Germany will present some actions we can do to ameliorate this situation. Thank you very much for your attention and have a good day.
Finally, the delegation of Germany will give some proposals to improve clear water and environmental problems.
Good morning, my name is Omar. I am from Germany. It is urgent to solve this water pollution and it is not easy, because it is necessary to put measures of all kinds. The main solutions go through Proposal 1, reduce the greenhouse effect and the temperature of the planet in order to restore the balance and the oxygen level of the seas. This implies accelerating all measures to combat climate change, greater recycling, electrification of transport, promotion of renewables, etc. Proposal 2. Reduction in the use of plastic and microplastics that are already in the water. We must reduce plastic, especially single use, to reduce waste that ends up in the sea. In the same way, you have to remove the one that is already in the water. Proposal 3. Responsible management of fishing and the use of marine resources in order not to deplete already damaged ecosystems. Proposal 4. A more sustainable agriculture to reduce the use of pesticides that end up in the water. Proposal 5. Improve waste management, eliminating once and for all discharges to water currents. Proposal 6. Responsible management of fresh water to avoid scarcity and deteriorative produces. Proposal 7. Extend parental detention services and technologies in this field. This machine, for example, financed by the Bill Gates Foundation, makes it possible to convert fecal water into drinkable water. In short, life was born in the sea, and today it continues to sustain it. However, contaminated water is a growing and urgent problem. The main cause of this aquatic pollution is us, so it's time that we also be the solution. Thank you for listening to my message, and I hope you take my proposals into consideration.
The can-can is a familiar dance for too many people, not only for its popularity on the stage, but also for its sophistication and elegance. It is challenging for the dancer and entertaining for the audience, and it consists in a series of steps in where either women or men have the opportunity to show flexibility and grace. Now please let's welcome the group Beautiful Friends. They will show a typical dance from Europe, the can-can.
from 12 countries that attended the General Assembly for their speeches and contributions to make our planet a better place to live. Today, you show that through dialogue we can have agreements to live in peace and harmony. The agreements will be signed today by all of us, and we will consider this document as part of a beginning to find peace between our countries. We officially close the work today. Have an excellent day.
Do you imagine all the people living for today? Do you imagine that there are no countries? Can you imagine all the people living in peace? Do you think this is a dream?
We live in a world in which many of those who are born poor will die poor. And it is up to us to be the first society to eradicate poverty and bring justice and equality to the most disenfranchised people on earth. Our children have the right to equal opportunities, to thrive, to be happy and healthy and safe. Now is the time to not just imagine, but do. This is for Aylan Kurdi and Galip Kurdi. Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us. Above us, only sky. Imagine all for people living for today. Imagine there's no countries. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for. No religion too. Imagine all for people living life in peace. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. Perhaps someday you'll join us, and the world will be as one. Imagine no possessions. I wonder if you can. No need for greed or hunger. The brotherhood of man. Imagine all for people sharing all the world. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. Perhaps someday you'll join us, and the world will be as one. Thank you.
Para dar fin a nuestro evento, recibamos con un caluroso aplauso al director general de Universitario Conversa, el profesor Víctor Manuel Lozano Vázquez, para dar un último mensaje.
Hi there, my name is Victor Lozano and I want to acknowledge all the people that have collaborated in this MUN, Model United Nations. And I'm very thankful for everybody that has challenged this, that has been working with us, and our students and parents. This is an excellent way to perform your English, and let me give you a brief explanation about it, because I believe that it's important that we check and we explain how this works. This is Model United Nations. It's for me, it is a time challenge opportunity because it's a simulation. We call it a role play, and a role play is something that yourself or your children will do in order to feel more secure, practice your English with fluency, and lose your fear about speaking in public. The idea is that we follow the United Model Nation in order to students have the chance to make a role play, a simulation, where they will be part of a delegate of other countries, and they will explain the problems, the issues. For instance, let's suppose that one of your kids or your children becomes a delegate from Japan or maybe United Kingdom. So they will explain all the issues, maybe climate changes, maybe COVID-19 health problems. Like, we have been having all in all the world. So they have to explain carefully. So for me, it's an excellent way to communicate. First of all, we have to explain you that due to COVID-19 restrictions, we prefer to do this online. So this is going to be a virtual model United Nations. So it's going to be performed by online. But we will have some different conferences to help students learn and practice their English skills, negotiation, leadership, and other important skills that will make them feel more secure, and they will be more fluent. They will lose their fear to speak English in public. This speech usually lasts for a few minutes, but it's an excellent opportunity, as I said, in order to make the students feel the need to speak in public. So we achieve that, making them speak in English, and secondly, we make feel more open to give speeches to an online audience. And congratulations for all of you, the teachers, Teacher Mark, and his staff, Teacher Carlos, and everybody that has involved, Samuel. It's a pleasure to work with you, Teacher Moises, all of you that have done this. I believe that this is wonderful. As I said, it's a changing life experience, and I hope all of you enjoy this opportunity, and please give your best, as we said in Conversa. Thank you very much, and remember, MUN is FUN. Moon is fun. Thank you very much, my pleasure, and I repeat my name, Victor Lozano. It was a pleasure to be with you all, guys. Thanks.
Nos complacemos en hacer entrega de los diplomas de participación de los delegados. Araceli Cruz Cánovas, Ángel Gutiérrez García, Carlos García Martínez, Elizabeth Pacheco Lara, Jocelyn Alcaraz Trejo, Joana Ivette Rodríguez Núñez, Juan Antonio de Luna Cortés, Leonardo Pedrosa Díaz, María Isabel Ocañas López, Omar Emanuel Rodríguez González, Paola Ixchel León Cerón, Valeria Rodríguez Navarro. Entregamos ahora los reconocimientos a los suplentes de delegados. Alexis Rangel Márquez, Amairé del Rubí Ramírez Sánchez, Ameyali Josefina Jerónimo Antonio, Ana Rebeca Rueda Barajas, Brian Ramírez González, Carlos Argüello Tentle, César Velasco Galicia, Elusaid Salvador González Ramírez, Julio Odín Gaitán Díaz, Carla Ameyali Martínez Callejas, Carol Salensky Padilla, Laura Alejandra Herrera Telles, Ludmila Fabiola Díaz Luna, María del Carmen Barajas Monroy, María Fernanda Rojas Trujillo, Steven Amael Cerratos Montero. Ahora, invitamos a los alumnos que participaron en las actividades culturales a que reciban su diploma. Abraham López Chávez, Adrián Ulises Audifred Pérez, Alam Gillari Castro Chávez, Alison Zuley Ríos Sánchez, Alondra Valeria Ruiz Estrada, Amanda Rodríguez Cruz, Andrea González Anaya, Ángel Sebastián Albarrán Barredo, Ariday Amelinatzi Pérez Sánchez, Brandon Ibarra Díaz, Brian Espíndola Molina, César Alejandro Moreno Aranda, Aide Solís Martínez, Yacibé Araiza González, Juan Carlos Acevedo Hernández, María Belén Aguilera Briceño, María José Ojeda Muñoz, Mija Sánchez, Naomi Akemi Solís Sánchez, Paulina González Anaya. Finalmente, hacemos entrega de los reconocimientos a los profesores encargados de coordinar a los participantes. Adriana Michelle Ordóñez Domínguez, Irina Yetlanesi Ortiz Valdenegro, Ana Laura Suastegui de Mariano, Ana Lisette Díaz Rosas, Eric Galicia Rubio, Ernesto Valdivia Zamora, Francisco Javier Ugalde Olivos, Ivonne López Tolentino, Joan Salazar Lemus, Joana Ivette Rodríguez Núñez, José Muñoz Carreón, Luis Armando Zárate Ruiz, Luis Manuel Catalán Lemus, María de Montserrat Villa Barragán, María del Rosario Miguel Granados, Roberto Agustín Mirano, Viridiana Atonal Granados. Universitario Conversa agradece su asistencia a este evento.